We did say that the DStv Premiership officially kicks off this evening, and the champions, Mamelodi Sundowns, will get the ball rolling at the Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane. Remember, they are six-time defending champions successively, and we will have to wait and see if they'll make it 7 times on the spin. And to talk about that, I'm joined by Sowetan sport editor Nkareng Matshe. Nkareng, I don't know, thank you so much for your time this morning. I don't know if Mamelodi Sundowns have anyone that will be able to stop them this season. It hasn't been easy for anyone who has to face them over the past seasons.
Yeah, good morning, Benji, and thanks for inviting us. Yes, it's the question on most fans' minds now as the season starts. That is it going to be 7 league wins in a row for Mamelodi Sundowns, or will there be another challenge coming from the likes of Orlando Pirates, SuperSport United, Kaizer Chiefs, Cape Town City? So we know that the gap has been bigger in the last 2 seasons. It hasn't been a close race at all. The last time we had a close race was in 2020 during that COVID season when Kaizer Chiefs lost the title to Sundowns on the final day. So ever since, it's been a very big gap. They would win the league with about 4 or 5 games to go. So this season, as we kick off this evening, with Sundowns going to Sekhukhune United, we are asking that question again to say, who can really close the gap? But if you look at SuperSport United and Orlando Pirates, the advantage there is that they have retained the coaches from the last season. And we know that Pirates did win 2 trophies. They came second as well. So there's hope there that they could actually give Sundowns a bit more competitive run this time around, instead of us seeing the league ending with about 5 games to go. It's just not too competitive if you look at it from that point of view. So the hope is that because Jose Ribeiro at the Pirates has had a year, and we know that Gavin Hunt managed to stabilize SuperSport United, and they qualified for the CAF Confederation Cup. They finished 3rd. So there's hope that they can also compete on the same level with Sundowns. But my view is that Sundowns, the gap is still too big. You still need another year or so to close it a bit.
And some might say, Nkareng, that the league title was won in September, in October last season. Those who are brave enough. But how have they looked in the pre-season or the close season, though? Because some have said that Mamelodi Sundowns, because of the deep pockets that they have there, have previously been way above the rest, or head and shoulders above the rest, even in pre-season, and that's why it has translated to the field. Have you seen any big signing that you can say, or any club in terms of those at the top, those who would want to challenge Mamelodi Sundowns, getting any big players coming in to make sure that it's a competitive season?
Yeah, look, in terms of signings, you can say that all clubs have been busy. We know that the Sundowns did get Mendieta from Stellenbosch, who is a big signing, but they have lost some players as well. So you look at the Orlando Pirates, they have the likes of Utadisa coming in. Maswanganyi came in from SuperSport. Obviously, one of the busier teams this preseason was Kaizer Chiefs. They recruited well, but the challenge for them is that they have a new coach again going into the new season. So unlike Pirates and SuperSport and the likes of Cape Town City, who have coaches who've been there. So the challenge for Kaizer Chiefs is that as much as we have made good signings, you have to also look at the pressure that comes with a new coach, and the skepticism from fans who were not convinced when Mulifinziki was made the head coach. So they have to hit the ground running. They have to make sure that they win from the first match. There's no pressure at all. And they are playing cheaper. Cheaper beat them last year in this fixture away. In Durban. So it's the Chiefs' home game, but they have taken it to Moses Mabhida due to the unavailability of FNB Stadium. So the signings, it depends on how they gel. At Sundowns, when you make minimal changes, you bring in one player instead of four. You can help them get into the system, even at Pirates as well, because the coach has been there. So at Chiefs, it's a completely new setup with Mulifinzeki heading it. But thankfully for Chiefs, Athazwan is still there, so they can still work together. And we know that Mulifi has been there for the past 2 years when he was in the development sector. So he's been elevated to head coach. But for me, the pressure is not going to help much. So imagine if they don't win against Chipa, given that in this off-season, in this pre-season, they lost in Tanzania and they lost last week in Botswana. So if you go into the official game and you lose, it's just not going to help their cause. And this puts pressure on new signings like Likhokwe, Simango, Putsani. These are new players who have arrived with huge reputations, and they are expected, unfortunately, to deliver immediately. And it's not always the case at a big team like Chiefs, which sells out games, and there's always pressure. The fans are looking at you, they are scrutinizing you, they are putting you under pressure.
And what about at Swallows, though? We can call it Moroka Swallows again now. Steve Kompela moving across from Mamelodi Sundowns. He was part of that threesome of coaches there with Rulana Mukwena and Mangoba Mkriti. But now he is back as a man of his own. He will be working closely there with those who were there. And he's made some signings as well. I suppose his big statement signing would have been Andile Jali there.
Yeah, look, remember that Moroka Swallows were in the relegation zone for for much of last season. And then they won those 4 games in a row, and they were able to secure a top 8 spot. So you can say that they did well last season. They didn't really need to change much. But the Steve Kompela signing as a coach, for me, is a statement from Moroka Swallows to say that we want to compete. We don't want to be staying there at the bottom. And then we know that even in the previous season, before last, they survived only via the playoffs. So last season, they managed the top 8. So to say, let's get the big name coach in the name of Steve Kompela, and who has brought in good signings. Aside from Andy Lejali, they have Lansene Palani as well, who has joined the team. So you can see that they have beefed up. And the aim is to retain the top 8 spot, to make sure that you do not find yourself fighting relegation year in, year out. It's not sustainable because it brings a lot of uncertainty around the team. But again, with Swallows, it's a good thing that Musa Nyatama, who helped them to finish in the top 8 and had been there throughout last season, is there next to Steve, to Steve Kompela to show him these are the strengths of the players and these are the weaknesses of these other players. So I think it's a good setup. They should be competitive, but we know that we have new teams in Polokwane City and the Cape Town Spurs we have coming. So the competition will be high, and then you cannot expect that because we have made a particular signing and all that, that you automatically will produce the goals. The goals have to be produced from the training setup, how you set up, and also you need luck somehow, somewhere, so that you can gain points. It's going to be a very difficult season for a lot of teams. They have to make the 3 trips to Cape Town, for instance, because there's an additional team there. And we also what happened to Richards Bay last season when they lost the form in the second round. So the PSL is such an unpredictable league, except of course for the championship.
And speaking of that additional team in Cape Town, Nkareng, the 2 teams in Cape Town will be involved with the newbies, so to speak, or the returnees. Cape Town Spurs, formerly Ajax Cape Town, coming back into the league, and Polokwane City also making a return, representing the northernmost part of the country. How are they looking? Polokwane won late in the season. I think it was a final day win for them. And then Cape Town Spurs having to go through to the playoffs and making sure they condemn Maritzburg United to the Motsepe Foundation Championship. How are those two looking? Will they compete, or will they again be fighting relegation?
Yeah, look, as I said, new teams coming in are difficult to judge. Let's look at the Richards Bay, who came in last season, and they were among the top three for a long time. But in the second round, when they were found out, they couldn't win a game. So this is the challenge for Cape Town City and Polokwane. So Cape Town Spurs and Polokwane City, they are coming in as unknowns, and there's not a lot of data for the 14 other Premiership teams around those two teams. So they have to take advantage of the first round. If you win matches in the first round, you are bound to survive. We know that you need 31 points to survive. So you need to gain most of those points from the first round. I'm more worried about Polokwane City. I read reports that they have brought in Leshoro to strengthen the technical bench. But in terms of the experience, the transfer market, they haven't been that busy. And that's a worry for me, for a team. We should know that the demands of the Premiership are not the same as those of the Motsepe Foundation. So it's quite a worry for me, and that will they be able to cope and be competitive and all that. But as I said, it depends on what happens in the first round. From now up to December, up to that January break, just before the Africa Cup of Nations, that's where you could actually find yourself unable to catch up if you lose too many points. In terms of Spurs, I think Sean Bartlett is an experienced coach. He's been here before. He's promoted his second team here. He did it with Golden Oros before. So I expect them to be more competitive, given that they won the playoffs, and they showed there that they needed to be strong. They knew when to win, when to attack, when to defend. In the last match against Maritzburg, they could have lost that match, but they stood firm and got the point that they desired to be back in the Premiership.
All right. Nkareng, I'm going to let you go, but before that, today, on the 4th of August 2023, I'm going to ask you one question. The champion that we'll see in May 2024 is?
Mamelodi Sundowns.
We gonna archive that, and we'll call you again in May to ask what happened, or to congratulate you on that prediction. Thank you so much for your time. Nkareng Matshe is the editor for Sowetan Sport, and he's joining us from Johannesburg there. So you did see the fixtures there, and there's only one taking place this evening. The champions, Mamelodi Sundowns, there again on your screens, away to Sekhukhune United. Moroka Swallows also away to Arrows in KZN on Saturday. The likes of Stellenbosch FC hosting Orlando Pirates, while there's a derby, Royal AM against Amazulu. Kaizer Chiefs is at home, away from home in Durban. They're hosting Chippa United at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, while the newbies, Polokwane City, take on Cape Town City on Sunday in the closing fixture of match day 1.